Coffee Kickstarter, and we're the Property Angels. Property Angels was founded by a former solicitor, accountant, and police detective who needed to professionalize the industry because they saw a gap. And using their knowledge, their experience, and proven track record, they endeavour to guide support those new to the property arena by providing practical knowledge and skills, and of course the tool set to enable them to thrive and achieve their potential. Now, the Property Angels Coffee Kickstarter series aims to inspire both those new and those already on their journey by sharing real life scenarios and roadmaps from coalface practitioners actually walking the talk. And we're delighted to have with us this morning Markus Cox. But first, Sam and I would like to introduce ourselves. And you'll also notice we're missing one of our property angels this morning. Sarah, as you all know, is about to give birth sometime soon. So she's not with us currently, but we'll be sharing more news on that as things happen. So first, about myself. I used to work in corporate land. I worked on big projects, programs, originally starting life as an accountant, then moving into project program management, war room management, and strategic business consultancy. But I escaped all of that in May 2015, and taking with me the skills I'd learned during that time at a senior level, I now leverage them, building my own business and helping other property professionals craft strategic plans for their business, underpinning their journey, starting from solid foundations. So that's me. So over to Sam.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Beddoe. My company is Revive Holdings. I've been in property probably 5 or 6 years full time now. Prior to that, I was a detective in the police force for 23 years. So quite a change moving into the property industry. I've got experience in a variety of property models, be that HMOs, buy-to-lets, auctions, flips, commercial conversions, title splits, service accommodation, using private investor funds, using SAS pension funds, so a bit of a variety there. I've got 2 property companies at the moment. One is service accommodation and the other one is development company. I have a couple of development purchases going through at the moment. So that's a little bit about me. Karen, I'll just say a little bit about Sarah, shall I? Yeah. So as we say, Sarah's not with us today. She's busy, imminently waiting to have a baby. But Sarah's been in property since about 2004, I think. She was an accidental landlord initially while she was in a solicitor's practice, and she would buy a property, and then it was recommended by her broker that she could keep hold of that property and then move on to the next one. So she was gaining properties in that way. As the years went on, she gained momentum. She had a stock of HMOs, and she's mainly focusing on single buy-to-let properties at the moment and looking at those sort of opportunities. So that's a little bit about Sarah. And then Markus, let's have a chat about you then. Welcome to the Property Angels catch up on a Thursday morning. It's been great to have you with us. Perhaps you could tell everyone a little bit about you.
Good morning. Yes, thank you for inviting me on. And yeah, I'm ex-corporate as well, but nothing too exciting. I worked at Jaguar Land Rover as a mechanical engineer for a number of years. And whilst working there, I just sort of had this total feel that there was something more to life outside of Jaguar Land Rover. It sort of starts to occupy a lot of your time and effort and everything. It played a little bit of a trick with me, really, because I couldn't work out what it was that I wanted to do and how, etc. And I just sort of thought, well, you know, after having done a degree in mechanical engineering and working at a firm like JLR, maybe I should just accept that. And was there anything better? So after a lot of sort of soul searching, head scratching, I was an accidental landlord as well. And whilst at JLR, actually, I purposely put on a third property onto our little private portfolio for myself and my wife, obviously with a bit of just an intention at that time of something extra for pension, really, by having a third buy to let, and maybe something as a legacy, because I've got 3 children, so having 3 rentals seemed to work quite well as well. Obvious maths there. But then, yeah, I then in late 2016 started doing a bit of networking and just finding out how other guys were scaling their portfolios and on the build to rent model. So that's where I first started. Then in 2017, I did a bit of property training and mentorship, took me through till sort of middle of that year. And then sort of 2018 was when it really started to come together for me. I took a property through a permitted development application and then sold that on. Once the PD and the other little basic bits of planning had come on, it wasn't really big enough for me to build out, by which point I found this barn conversion to do. So 2019 saw the start of that in January, literally boots on ground on the 2nd of January 2019, and built out a £1.2 million GDV barn conversion. So it was a nice little project, really. It was a bit like an oversized refurb in a lot of respects. The fabric of the building was so secure and the roof was good, and it even had a first floor in that the structural engineer we had out, he obviously checked that for us. And the timbers that were in there were sufficient for storing, I don't know what had been stored in their, grain and everything over the years. So they were well overkill for residential use. So those were left in. So yeah, it soon carved itself up into the 3 units, and the shells started taking shape, and then the internal fit outs very, very quickly. So yeah, from start to finish, it was only 6 months to produce the 3 units, which is obviously, it's good from the investor's point of view, that they know they're getting in and getting out very quickly before the market could change. We were building out through Brexit as well, so there was obvious risk elements there. So, jumped on the marketing very early on. And the house unit within that barn conversion actually sold on the first viewing. We'd used the upstairs apartment as a show apartment because it demonstrated everything that would be seen in the house, from the exposed beams to a smaller version of the same kitchen and bathrooms and en suites and everything, so you could see and feel what the house was going to be like. So the viewing went through the flat first so they could get a real good feel for it, and then they viewed the house whilst it was still being plastered. There was nothing in there. There was no lighting in there whatsoever, and we got literally full asking price offer straight away on it. So yeah, went very well, to be honest. So yeah, it was good. A good
make it sound
project.
easy. You make it sound very easy.
Well, there was a lot of planning up front, and then the rollout, I suppose. For me, I think the rollout should be the easy bit. If you've planned everything up front best you can, and you've got time and money contingencies in your program, you should be able to sort of juggle things around a bit. I'm obviously used to working in the car industry at JLR, where programs just you weren't allowed to slip. Everybody was engineering their section over a 3-year period, and you had to do your bit and be ready when everybody else was ready, and go through the milestones for sign-offs. So I suppose it's that mentality that just resonates and buzzes around in my head somewhere, and I use the same approach, but on a much smaller scale now for just developments. So yeah, it's good.
So it's clear there that you've had some transferable skills that have been a real bonus to development, property development.
Yeah, I don't think I was even purposely aware of it to start with, but I think it's once you start putting stuff down onto paper or spreadsheets, and you're looking at a timing plan, and you realize that everything you've looked at before was an engineering timing plan, and now it's just a build, or should I say a full development timing plan. Even the pre pre-build elements of the project, all the setup and the legal elements up front and everything. It still has a time element to it that needs to be stuck to and adhered to in order to get the whole project delivered. So yes, I think is the answer. Without even realizing it, it's held me in good stead going through the background and the corporate environment. It works quite well, to be honest. Yeah.
And at what point did you leave JLR and go full-time into property development?
Yeah, mid 2017, I took myself and my wife had obviously sat down and given it a lot of thought over the previous sort of 6 to 9 months, stashed some money in the bank, and we actually took a private loan as well out and decided we should be able to last sort of 12 to 18 months on that whilst we get the business set up. The issue I found with trying to do it part-time, or when I was setting up, was it was just constant. Your head was being pulled into work and then out of work, and I just wanted to focus on it 5 days a week. So at some point I had to go. It was restricting my progress, and it was probably going to take me I know people do it part-time, but it just didn't work for me doing it part-time. I like to focus on that one particular subject matter and just keep going and going at it. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, obviously, because you're handing in your notice into a fairly well paid and reasonably secure job. I've got wife and 3 kids and a mortgage and everything. So but yeah, I think if you don't take a little bit of risk at some point, I think for me the biggest risk was the employment. But I felt I could go back to automotive engineering should I have needed to, but if I didn't give this a go, I'd probably look back on it and go, I didn't give it the best shot. So, and that for me was the bigger risk, really. So yeah, middle of 2017, and then spent the whole of 2018 getting everything else aligned. It took me another 12 months from when I left JLR to find the barn conversion and get that deal set up, and then it was a long drawn out purchase as well, because there was an overage deed that we need to manage, and that took another 6 months to work our way through. But got there in the end, and it was great once it all started.
I remember you saying to me that you'd looked all over a wide geographical area for a property, and then as it happened, the barn conversion was virtually on your doorstep.
It is. It's literally 500 meters from my house. But I think that just shows really I wouldn't say overlook, but the relationships I had with local agents were very strong, because they're very personal ones, and on a one-to-one basis, just due to that close geographic nature. I'd go in and see the agents that were 2 miles away. If I was dropping the kids off at dance school or gym or whatever it would be, you'd just pop in and say, how you doing? Anything on? And yeah, you're right. He brought that barn conversion to me because of the conversations we've been having, and he knew that I was taking another barn conversion through a permitted development application. He just contacted me and said, yeah, we've got one in at the moment. It's just failed on somebody else was buying it, and the sale had fallen through. So he said, I just suddenly thought of you. Would you be interested to have a look at it? So yeah, and took it from there really. So yeah, it worked. It did work exceptionally well. So yeah, it was good.
So they didn't remarket it for all and sundry to come and do a viewing.
No.
Because of the relationship, you got in there under the radar, if you like, before the competition.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the middle of a new build development site, and obviously the new build developer, he had then been delayed because someone else, it was a private sale, someone else had bought it, and they were going to put 2 generations of family in the barn conversion, because it would split in half into a semi-detached, so it'd have a semi at both ends. And I think after they started looking at the costs of conversion and the difficulty and everything, I think the romance element of it all sort of fell out of bed. And so yeah, the developer was in a bit of pain really, and he just wanted to link with somebody that he could, genuinely have a conversation with. And so I just laid out where I was at with it and funding and everything like that. And he just said to me, take 6 weeks. He genuinely gave me 6 weeks to do my due diligence on it and get everything lined up. And then we had a further conversation, and then we got into the real nitty gritty of the negotiation on the price. But it wasn't, they'd marketed it for 400 and they'd already offered it to me for 375. And in the end, I just presented everything that I had. I had real live build quotes. I had 2 build quotes at that point, with most elements in there nailed down. There wasn't much in there that was still an estimate as well. So I was pretty certain on build costs and everything. And we were using the same agent that had brought it to me, because he was selling the new builds on the site. So we had a 3-way conversation about GDV as well, and that all went through. And in the end, I secured it for 350,000. So other than the overage deed, was the only difficulty that sort of came out on there. But we had to work our way through that. But it was all turned out okay in the end.
So for somebody listening to this, have that relationship with the local agents in the area that you're looking to work in. Build those relationships, because you can get things before it goes to market. Is that the lesson to be learned then?
It is, and it's, I think you probably pick that up on any property development school you go to. They'll all tell you the same, and you hear it, and it's a bit cliche and everything, but you suddenly go, well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Really, it's about the relationship, but it's also about you remember who you spoke to within the last week or two, don't you? If you haven't spoke to somebody for 4 to 6 weeks or months, you sort of go, oh, I still do it all the time. And I went to a networking event the other day that I hadn't been to for probably 4 months or something, and I got speaking to 2 guys, and I've had 2 one-to-ones as a follow-up from that. So you just need to keep your sort of networking and your contacts there, but measure it as well. Make sure that it is measured and you're not just wasting your time, because otherwise that is just not going to get you anywhere. If those particular agents don't ever have contacts for those types of property you're looking for, then you're wasting your time, really, aren't you? You want to know that they do come across the sorts of things you're looking for, and then take it from there.
Well, you already had a couple of buy-to-lets in your portfolio, in private portfolio. What was it that made you decide you wanted to do development rather than continue doing what you're already doing with the single buy-to-lets?
Just the time it takes in order to scale up. I mean, the last buy-to-let that I put on whilst I was working at JLR, we remortgaged the family residence for it, private home. So we just simply took a bit of equity out of there and used that for purchase fees and deposit. And then, of course, I went, well, that's worked really well. How can I do that again? Quick pat down of the body and pockets, and went, there's no more money left now. So decided, how on earth am I going to raise some more money for it? So, and that's when I started doing the networking. And it was, you're a bit like a rabbit in the headlights to start with. Somebody's doing 8 new builds in one go, and they're buying a plot of land for like 750,000 or something, and you sort of going, wow, 750 grand. I just remortgaged for 50 grand out of my house. That's quite a big difference, isn't it, in sums of money? And you're going, well, how do you manage to do that, really? So for me, it was another bit of cliche, really, isn't it? It's a mindset change, but it genuinely is. You've sort of got to get into your head that you can do it. It is a business, and as long as the business model stacks up, somebody will invest in that, with the right security and guarantees on the capital being invested. So that's how I moved on to it. Then I got introduced to a family office, and again, it took that whole period of whilst we were going through the overage deed on the purchase of the barn conversion to, get that relationship built up and work out what it was that they saw as risk, and how to mitigate the risks and everything, and what guarantees could be offered. So luckily, obviously, didn't have cash, but I had equity in the buy-to-let portfolio and still a bit of equity left in the private house. So I was able to offer a substantial personal guarantee on the loan from the family office to get this development up and running. So
for anyone who doesn't know, what's a family office?
How would you describe a family office? Private family in this instance, that have sums of money, I guess, from other business activities, and then put the money into a limited company, and then form their own lending facility. It's nice because you're working with real people and face to face, and you can actually just sit down and say, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to build it out, this is the process. And and they were like, yeah, great, it all sounds good. Can we just check with a RIC surveyor that the whole project is as you say it is? There's no question of your honesty. It's just it's a verification process, and it's a great process to go through, because it obviously is checking what you've laid out is correct. Should they find anything wrong in there, it gives you the opportunity to amend it. You could revise your offer, revise your scheme, or anything like that. So it's a true collaboration between all parties. But, investors want to invest money to make money. That's how their capital grows. But so if you can get that relationship with somebody like that wants to say and be a part of it. And you can all work collaboratively on it. They don't want to do property development. They don't want to be in the nitty gritty of the daily grind of it all and everything like that. But they want to sort of have a really good understanding of it. So yeah.
And what tips would you give for people to find those sort of private investors?
For me personally, I think it's just you've got to be yourself and just be open and honest and transparent. I think transparency is the key, really. If there's any levels of anything that's being hidden and stuff, it just doesn't work. Just be yourself. Don't overdo it. Don't dress it up more. Anything than it is. You are who you are, and I think that's it, really. I suppose all your social media gives an indication to everything you're saying and doing as well. I'm not great on social media, but I think some people overdo it though. They're posting like 5 times a day, and to me it's just a pointless exercise. But yeah, just post up what you are doing that's working well, and people will see that and want to move towards you and have a piece of that profit as well. So yeah, share the value and the wealth, really. Collaboration. Yeah.
Now you've done the barn development, that's all sold. You've got another development ongoing at the moment. It's going through the conveyancing process, so we won't be going into the nitty gritty of it all, but it's another commercial building for conversion.
Correct. Yeah, it's an office block in Northamptonshire, so disused office block. It's town centre location, so as per a lot of these now, the offices are obviously not wanting to be located right in the heart of town centres, so it's been disused for a number of years. So more to follow soon on that one, but it's a really great building in a great location, so just really grateful to have got hold of it, to be honest. So yeah, really looking forward to it. It's going to be a bit of a step up from the barn conversion. We're hoping that we'll get permitted development rights, obviously, on what's there already. I've got a planning strategy review with John McDermott this afternoon, actually, to just discuss what our new strategy is moving forward after the 1st of September.
Yes.
we've got all the sketches, the architect's drawn it all out, and it looks perfect. So it's just a matter of working out what the actual application process is now, because you can, obviously it's all changed, and there's been revisions, hasn't there, as to airspace development. So we wanted to put a couple on the roof. Some of the areas adjacent to the main building have a ground floor offices only. So we want to build on top of those offices up 2 more floors as well. So yeah, John hopefully he's got his head round it all by now. You know, he's had 23 to 24 days now to read up on this. So hopefully this afternoon he'll be able to enlighten myself and Andrew how we're going to get the application in. The pre-app's in though. The pre-app's already in with the council. So, and that will be coming out. They feed back to us. That went in end of August, so we'll have the pre-app feedback by the end of October. So yeah, I'll get
so as well as doing conversion of the existing building, you're looking to incorporate the new airspace rights as well. Yep. Is that right? Yep. And any new build on this piece of land? There
is actually, yes. There's it comes with its own car parking area, which is large enough that we can meet the requirements. We want to still meet a requirement of 1 parking space per flat, and then there's still enough room to get some townhouses on the site as well. So we're hoping to get 3 or 4 townhouses onto the site with parking, etc. as well. So yeah.
So it's going to be a great one for the portfolio to demonstrate all sorts of different uses of planning in one project.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have the phone call this afternoon with John and go through it all and just see what we expect the feedback to be from the pre-app. I mean, we're obviously hoping that the pre-app went in slightly early, went in literally days before the 1st of September, went in like 28th of August or something. But obviously now it'll have to be viewed. But we're hoping that, you know, the council in question are going to see this as a collaboration and helping to supply housing in the area as per their requirements. You know, there's nothing contentious there whatsoever. And we're hoping that they see this as a really well balanced scheme and size of units as well. And there's 1 beds, 2 beds, and we've put a couple of 3 beds in there. But the building has no internal walls, structural walls, so we can redistribute accordingly. So if they say they don't want any 3 beds in there and they want them all to be 1s and 2s, it makes no difference to us really at this point. We can work on that, work on the mix with them and try and, again, I love the word collaboration because I think it just means people are happily working together, doesn't it? Rather than, us putting in, we want to put 4-bed flats in there and we're going to argue with you for the next 3 years over it. We might as well work with them and see what the area needs, what the council agree is needed, and try and just come up with a common sense approach and get this through quick and easy. And again, it's a quick and easy build out on this one because there's no internal supporting walls. It can be distributed up very, very quick and easy. So
if everything goes to plan, fingers crossed, yes. When do you hope to put these properties into the market?
Well, hopefully we'll get ownership before the end of the year and be on site doing the strip out before the end of the year. So yeah, these will go to market early 2021, sort of a new year release. We might even do the busiest day on Rightmove, I'm told, is Boxing Day, isn't it? With everybody sat there full of turkey thinking, oh, what am I going to do next year? And so yeah, Boxing Day surfing on Rightmove. So we might even do a launch ready for Boxing Day.
So Boxing Day 2021?
No, 2020.
Oh, so as in off-plan offering?
Yes, yeah, wow. Yeah, CGI offerings. Get the whole thing modelled up and ready to go. So it's going to be quite a strong first-time buyer market. especially in the one beds and some of the two beds. So those people surfing Rightmove, thinking, yeah, 2021 we're gonna, move out from mum and dad's, or our rental property that we've been living in together, or whatever the situation is. And so yeah, all those sorts of thoughts are running through people's heads at that sort of time of year. So yeah, we'll probably do the launch at that point if we're on. To get that bit of it ready is the easy bit, to be honest. So once we've got the purchase and the exchange done, then that will follow quite naturally, along with the Help to Buy application, and get them registered so they're on the Help to Buy scheme for first time buyers.
And when could people move in then?
6 to 9 months.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah,
That's pretty quick then.
Yeah. So middle of next year onwards, there, we'll be phasing the development, so units will become available.
Is there any projects that you've done where it hasn't gone particularly to plan, and what lessons can you take away from that?
Oh dear, I think everything has its own difficulties, doesn't it? Even, I mean, permitted development application, the first one I did on the a smaller barn conversion, we were going through the change of use process from office to residential under permitted development. And sorry, my text messaging is just pinging on my computer for some reason, and I can't get it to stop. The problem was that it didn't have a use class on the building to start with. So the council obviously stood their ground and said, you can't do a change of use from, I can't remember what it should have been, B1 office use, or B1A or something, because it hasn't actually formally got a use. It was an unclassified barn that had been used as office space. So it took a long time and a lot of effort to go back and get it first registered for the correct use class as office use, to then do the change of use from office to resi. So yeah, things like that are there, can catch you out very quick and easy. What appears to be something straightforward turned out not to be, and took a lot longer than expected.
Okay.
So but yeah, you just gotta you've got to try, and I suppose just experience helps you with stuff like that. Again, I've obviously looked at this large commercial conversion that we're looking at doing, and that does have a use class attached to it, so not going to fall foul of that this time round. But it does heighten your senses to things, doesn't it? As it's called experience, isn't it? As you spend more time in the industry. I'm 3.5 years in now, full time. So these things are starting to become a bit more second nature as you go through.
And it sounds like your professional team are vital to have people who are, on the same hymn sheet as you.
Absolutely, yeah. And you got to work with people that you can work with as well. I've come across different people just work in different fashions and manners and different approaches. And if it doesn't align, it makes it really, really hard work. Different ways of communicating with documentation, and just the way you mark up drawings and send it back to architects and planning consultants, and even down to your legal team and everything like that. I think if you're not on, as you quite rightly say, the same page and everything, and you got to feel they're involved as well. You don't employ these people directly, so their involvement is key, isn't it? But you need to feel that they feel that they're part of the team, and that they genuinely, really, really want this to work and happen, and take some personal level of responsibility in there as well. So it's all getting a bit serious now, isn't it? But there has to be a serious side to it as well as the fun. But yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a big project plan for next year.
Yeah.
What about the next sort of 3 to 5 years? Have you got any specific goals?
Well, just to do more of the same, really. Just to level out the sustainable flow of deals and make sure that it's not boom bust, one on, one off, one on, one off. So the streamlining of the pipeline really, and just honing the processes, and yeah, broadening the investment offerings that we have available, and just get a wider network of investors on board. And I'm looking at doing SaaS investments. I've set up my own SaaS now as well. I didn't really want to take on board SaaS investors if I wasn't doing it myself. So I thought the best way, obviously, is to set up your own SaaS, invest your own SaaS money into your own deals on the loan back, and on loan into other deals, and fully immerse yourself in that way. Practice what you preach, and do it that way around. So yes, I think funding stability and pipeline of deals is the key really for the next sort of 3 to 5 years. And most of all, just enjoy it. Yeah, it's very stressful setting up and doing your first one or two deals and that. So I'd like to drop back a bit on the stress levels and just let it roll out a bit now.
And you've got a business partner on your new project. So yes. What are the sort of key values and important traits of a business partner for you going forward?
Yeah, Andrew's he's very good at the front end with deal finding, analysing the deals very quickly and getting the offers out. I'm more of a detail person, and that hinders me in that process because I just can't get my head going quick enough through the initial phase to get the deals out quick enough. And I always have the concern that I'm offering on stuff that I don't fully understand and haven't completed the due diligence on. But I've come to learn over the last couple of years that it just isn't possible to spend 2 weeks doing the due diligence on every deal, and making offers in that way. So I think it's fair to be honest with people and say that your offers are made with the obvious caveats of a full due diligence process, and you can even stipulate what your assumptions are in the offer that you're making. Your GDV is assumed to be this because you're going to get X amount of units on, etc., etc. So yeah, we have a good balance. Andrew will then pass it on to me to do the finer detail. I go back to him questioning things within the build, as whether there's a lot of car parking area and landscaping, and as the build cost that he's assumed in there, because he's ex-construction, he's got 25-year construction history, career history there. So I just sort of pull apart and politely question everything, so for the greater good of the development really. And he's good with that. If he's missed something, he wants it highlighted, or if we've undercooked something or overcooked it, and he'll do the same obviously to me and make sure if I've got average costs in for service connections and I haven't thought of it, but whilst he's on site he's realized that it's not going to be a usual setup for service connections for whatever reason, he'll obviously highlight that back to me to update the costings with. So yeah, I think it's a good balance. We've both got a very strong personable trait as well. We're both very good one-to-one and face-to-face with people as well, so I think that helps. But yeah, the skill sets, we've got a broad skill set which doesn't overlap too much in the middle, so there's no treading on each other's toes either, so it should work well.
Is there a particular tool or resource that you use in your property development business that you can recommend to others?
I can't think of anything specific really. For me personally, it's the only tools really that I use that are very useful is good old Microsoft Excel and having a good deal analyzer. Worryingly, I've been to networking events and spoke to people and had other JV opportunities, and some of the deal analyzers that people are using for their full due diligence, I'm just shocked at how little information and detail they go to, and just using averaging of pounds per square foot for build costs and GDVs, etc., and they're just not going into the finer detail. And I think you can soon find that a few pounds here there can multiply up and even compound out, and you can soon find that you're 50 to 100 grand out on a 3, 4, 500,000 pound profit. 50 grand on 500, that's 10% out, and that's I think it's shocking really at the lack of professionalism in the industry that developers have with regards to deal analysis, really just real basic costings, and they're not even working out their cash flow for the duration of the build with interest charges, etc. So I think there's certainly some room for improvement, and it obviously helps mitigate the risk. I think you need to be able to demonstrate that the project's in control. If you're expecting somebody to put large sums of capital, it's their capital that's going into it. Yes, they're getting a return on it, but it's their capital that's at risk ultimately, other than obviously the director's personal guarantees. So it's time for people to maybe think a little bit more and work a bit harder on their due diligence, and be a bit more professional up front, really.
Do you use a quantity surveyor prior to putting your offer in and part of your DD process?
I have done in the past, yes, and it works well for getting a good template that you can then take to, you can blank certain bits of it out, but use the headings and everything. The QSs are very, very good at spotting all like retaining walls. I had one retaining wall coming round a corner where the road was banked off of the main road and everything, and it added, I think, about £100,000 to the construction of the road in that particular area. So it was a shocking amount of money that I think could easily, stuff like that can so easily be overlooked, can't it? And you can at least then, if you've had a QS, template it out. You've got a cost, like you say, that you can work to as a budget. You can also then offer it out as a tender pack to builders and construction teams, knowing that they're all going to A, not miss anything, and B, it's a level playing field for all the builds quotes that are coming back in then.
Totally. Yeah, that's tricky when you put a tender out and then they all put it back in a different format. It's hard to see how to analyze this fairly. Has he overestimated? Has he missed something out? It can be tricky, can't it?
Yeah, at least if you're telling them this is the bill of quantities for the whole development, and you're basically telling them what you want them to build, and then they're quoting for it, like you say, rather than them saying, well, didn't quite know what you wanted in this area, so we've assumed that, and that road looks like it'd have probably been all right, might have a little bit of a wall beside it, but you've gone into the finer detail already and said, no, it'll have a supporting wall, and the section of that supporting wall looks like this from an engineering detail perspective. So, footings and depths and reinforcements, etc. There's no ambiguity then, is there? So.
And is there somebody in your power team that you can't live without?
Oh, a power team that I can't live without. I think architects and planning consultants are absolutely key, aren't they? If you don't have a good architect and planning consultant, then you're not going to move forward, are you? So, yeah, without doubt. Even to the point of view that we've had one done a couple of weeks ago, a massing of the site, just to see the selling agent said that you could get, I think, 14 new build houses on there. So we had the architect very quickly do a 2D plan just to put some rectangles on and a road and everything in, and with with minimum standards, space standards, for a 2-bed, which was the absolute smallest we could go, 70 square meters, I think they were. He could only get 11 on there, which is a big difference to 14, I thought. So, so yeah, that information, and of course you've got that then very politely to go back and say, this is what our offer's based on. It's based on 11, not 14, because you physically can't get 14 on there.
Yeah, they go for it to try and get a better price with people who might not do the research that you've done.
Absolutely, it can be that. I mean, I try to look favourably on people and say he probably didn't have the right tools to do it and didn't do an analysis. But yeah, I sadly think it's probably the former, and 14 is definitely going to yield a higher GDV and therefore a higher land value, isn't it? So, but yeah, you just go back with a real level offer, don't you? Based on 11, the GDV is this, build costs is that, finance, blah 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 blah. So we've worked it back, and this is our offer, and it has worked. That's a real live example, and they came back to us this week. It failed at auction. I think they set the reserve at 500 grand or something at auction. It went up to 492, I think. So it didn't meet reserve, and yeah, we'd had a pre-auction offer in at 487 for 6-7 weeks, and yeah, 7 weeks later they've come back to us and yeah, basically accepted the offer. So it's a long game though, isn't it? It's a long game.
Yeah, it's gone back in the pipeline, I assume.
Yeah, that'd be for the 2021 pipeline. We're going to try and ease that one through gently now, and if we can get that to exchange of contracts, and then yeah, hopefully between exchange and completion get some of the planning work done before we're paying for the site, that'll be a bonus really. Yeah.
And what about I'm just thinking for people listening in, if you had to start again from scratch, with just your knowledge and some sort of limited resources, what would you do if you had to start all over again? Would you do anything different?
I don't think. Yes, because you've got the lessons learned, haven't you? But the lessons learned is what's got you to this point. I mean, if you could start with the lessons already learned, you'd obviously tackle things in a different manner, wouldn't you? But personally, yeah, all the pain that I've been through with certain planning applications and stuff like that, I think it shapes you, doesn't it? I suppose the only thing that I would probably do slightly different is get your finances in order up front, because it's really, really painful, and I see it so many times, and I've been there, where people are making offers on stuff and then they're getting towards exchange of contracts and they still haven't got the deposit money, let alone the completion monies lined up. So I think having relationships with your investors, again, on a one-to-one basis, so that you've got them over the line, and they're at the point where they want to invest in something, and you're just waiting for it to come to fruition, and that you've got the funding in place. Because otherwise, again, you're just wasting your time, aren't you, getting something up to exchange of contracts without funding in place. So I think looking at the bigger picture, and I would probably look to do the only opposite thing I would do would be not to just concentrate on one deal initially. I think it's actually more risky than having 3 deals up and running. But I wouldn't do more than 3, and I would do 3 very, very carefully. And I think that gives you some level of flexibility between them. If one dips down and isn't going to be quite as profitable, or even break even, but you're still making profit in the other 2, it allows you to keep moving forwards. But if you've done just one deal and it only breaks even, all of a sudden you've come to a halt again, haven't you?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's being a bit braver up front, but it's actually long term, it is the right thing to do. But it does feel like it's a brave step.
Yeah. Yeah, I get where you're coming from there. If when you're just starting out, you're thinking, it's hard enough to focus and make sure
Yeah,
everything's going right with one project, let
yeah,
alone spreading that in your thought process on to two. And I think a valid point about the investors,
yeah,
that's something that you need to be building those relationships prior to finding the deal, so that they've got enough time to be observing you as well. You observing
absolutely.
you doing your due diligence on every deal. It's not as if you're just grabbing something that will do, right, take that to the investor. They can see how careful you are with your assessment and appraisal of every deal.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's not a 5-minute process to build a relationship with somebody that's going to invest anywhere from 50 to however much upwards, with their SAS pension or something, and again you have to take that seriously, don't you? Again, SAS pensions is, as it's there's a clue in the name there, it's somebody's pension fund for their retirement. And the last thing you want to do is be exposing that to any unnecessary risk, don't you? So, yeah, you want to be demonstrating how you're taking care of that capital, and this isn't just some sort of, sparking up a deal, trying to make a few quid, and just to put beans on toast on the table for your family. It's part of a bigger picture of your own wealth and security, and they're actually part of it, and they're helping you and you're helping them in exactly the same manner. The SAS pension for myself now, and the lasting legacy, which is, I find that a bit more morbid talking about that, but it's a necessary fact of life, isn't it? I have three kids that I would like to know are going to be well looked after. But at the moment, yeah, it's for my own selfish pension needs and wants, and yeah, just trying to piece that together really at the moment. So yeah.
Well, a couple of questions on the Facebook page. One of the questions was, what investor agreements do you use?
Yeah, I have bespoke investor agreements, so it depends at what level they're at. Obviously, if it's with a family office, then we have a full drafted solicitor agreement, and it's many pages long, and the facility letters go between both parties, and it takes quite a long time to sort out. And then I've got a smaller template loan agreement for private investors that we use, but we always advise, and I will always pay for them to have it reviewed by their own solicitor as well. It's just a starting point. I think the key point here is, with private investors especially, sit down with them and draft out what the loan agreement looks like in plain English terms. What amount of money are they looking to invest? What are they investing in? Exactly, is it cash flow, etc., build costs, and get that nitty gritty down, and the duration, and obviously what agreement you've got to return funds to them. Can they get their money in or out at any point, and everything like that, and then take that to the solicitors to draft it up or amend the template, to that point. But it has to be personal and bespoke to each investor, because everybody's got different criteria as to what they want to do with their money, and that'll affect the security and ultimately the interest repayments on the loan.
That was another question. Do you pay your investors a set return, or is it a profit share?
Either again, it depends, because the securities are different. If they're on as a percentage share, and they're that is then their security, whereas if you're on a loan agreement, the security tends to be by director's personal guarantee. So if you invest into the business and buy shares within that actual development, you'll obviously get a profit as per the dividend payout at the end of the deal. So they're two very different investment structures, and anybody considering that needs to sort of sit down do their homework really, and have discussions with multiple people really, and see if they can find a common theme from their research and their homework, and then see where it sits really. Tends to be that the larger investment amounts may go into equity share. But saying that, you know, it isn't unusual to have people still doing loan agreements on percentage returns on that basis. So, yeah.
I feel that investors need to understand the risk and reward.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or whether they're coming into a profit share where the profit share could be zero if it doesn't go well, or they're on a loan agreement where they are, you know, they've got a fixed return.
Yeah.
It's what their appetite is to risk as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's very easy to overlook it, and you try and map out every risk you can think of, can't you? But you know, we're sat right in the middle of one right at the moment, aren't we? We went through Brexit, and everyone went, "Whoa!" You know, that was a wobble, wasn't it? And that my barn conversion built out and sold through the Brexit phase, and one of the last units of the flats, the last flat rather, that's actually completed during lockdown of COVID as well. So, and that's going to have, you know, where's the market going next year with that? So, you know, are we going to see higher rates of unemployment and reduction in house prices? Who knows? Will the government stimulate the housing market to keep it moving and level? Who knows? But, you know, they're showing signs of looking after it, aren't they, with continuation of Help to Buy into for first-time buyers now. So, yeah.
Karen, I'm conscious that I've been asking all the questions here. Have you got any questions for Markus?
No, I've been listening in, which is quite nice, actually. You've covered it really, really well. Markus, just curious, what's your wealth dynamic? I've had a guess.
Got trader.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You see, I thought you'd be more on the Lord scale.
Yeah.
Don't know. No, it came up as trader.
I was trader when I did it as well. I used to be supporter and now I'm trader. But yeah, I would have put you as mechanic or Lord.
Yeah. No, I had to dig deep into the trader thing as well, because I suddenly went, trader? What like Del Boy or something? Market trader? So, but yeah, when you dig down into it a bit more, I think it's the organized wanting to, I like to model my developments out on a spreadsheet, timing wise, costing wise, and everything. And I think that's the trader element of it that it's somehow picked up on. But yeah, I was gobsmacked how 25 questions with 4 fixed multiple choice answers can sort of pick out your whole, you know, your traits to that level. But yeah.
Do you know, it's funny, I've done other profiling, and wealth dynamics, when I did mine, it was so spot on, because I worked in careers that just weren't in my flow. Doesn't mean you're not doing well at them, it just means you're not passionate about them, and it explains so much.
Yeah, and I think the terms there, in your flow, is a great term and a great phrase that I've learned from the wealth dynamics thing as well. I mean, again, it's not teaching you any words in the English language you didn't know already, and you suddenly, but it's just making you think a bit more, isn't it? About, you sit there for 2 hours doing something that you didn't want to do, whereas something you did want to do and you're in your flow, you've banged out in 15 minutes. And it's now learning that the working day is actually quite short, and the working week is very short, and there's just not enough hours in the day to be sat there doing stuff that isn't in your flow, and getting on with it. So yeah, delegate those on and out, or partner with somebody who is in that flow area, which is, you know, like I say, with Andrew at the moment, he's on the front end flow of analysing deals and getting them on, and then I'm doing the back end due diligence that will take 2 days. But if you weren't in flow, I can imagine it would take you a week, 2 weeks to pick through all the detail and everything. But yeah.
No, that's great. And one other quick thing before I hand back to Sam. I know earlier on you kindly said you post details of a case study on here. I think that will be really useful for the audience. So if you could do that, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you want to post it up? I sent it to you yesterday, Sam. If you want to post it up, or I can just post it, it's fine, whichever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do that, no problem. Yeah,
Perfect.
that'd be interesting. I really like the barn development. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really nice one because it genuinely does look lovely, and it was nice to restore something in the village where I live as well. And it was curtilage listed, so we weren't allowed to, luckily, unfortunately, and you have to chop it about or anything. So we've worked with existing openings, and for me, the first floor opening with the stairs that run up to it, which were rebuilt and constructed to replace the original external staircase, just it really makes that barn conversion and allows it obviously to have an upstairs apartment without having to lose space in the downstairs with an internal staircase. So yeah, it's really nice, really enjoyed that.
And if people want to connect with you and find out a bit more about you, have a chat with you, how's best to do that?
Yeah, just send me a message through any of the things. I'm obviously on here on Facebook, so I'm guessing there's a tag somewhere here with my name on. You can click on, send me a message. I'm on LinkedIn as well, so yeah, you can find me on there. So yeah, happy days, or share my mobile number out if people want to do that way, any way really.
So LinkedIn and Facebook are the best ways to get in touch with you.
LinkedIn, Facebook, I mean, whichever. It all comes through to the same device nowadays, doesn't it? Anyway, so text messages, emails, any way you like. And yeah, happy to advise anybody on any issues that have been raised today, and yeah, further those discussions.
Yeah.
If anybody wants any templates or anything, just let me know, and I'll happily share anything I've got.
That's generous, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Well, it's been great to talk to you. I'm really excited to know more about your new project that's coming on. Looking forward to seeing that, the CGIs and things going on in the winter. Yeah, so thanks very much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you both for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
See you soon. Bye then. Bye-bye.
Bye.